Welcome to Yarns to Spin, the podcast where every story tells a song. Here you will find an eclectic collection of unusual stories, strange happenings, tall tales, folklore, and intriguing Americana. What is better than hearing a good story? Listening to the song that goes along with it. Yarns to Spin presents The Curse of the Mary Celeste. The sailor quickened his steps. The rain would soon turn to sleet, and his destination should be just around the next corner. He was familiar with many seaside towns in Cornwall. What sailor in the 1800s wasn't? But he hadn't been to this pub before. He had been told that it was the place to go to inquire about who was signing on. Likely he would get the scuttlebutt on captains looking for crewmen, and also as to what ships to look out for. Sailors were a superstitious lot, and not hesitant to proclaim a certain ship as cursed. The rain had indeed turned to sleet, but up ahead he spied the tavern's weather-beaten sign hanging above the door. If this pub was like most, he would find a fire in the hearth, the smell of freshly baked Cornish pasties, and the boisterous chatter that can only come from seafarers in their cups. He was also hoping to maybe have a chance to tell the tale of his last voyage. These seasoned sailors would have seen it all: monsters from the deep, mutiny on the high seas, pirates and storms. But what would they have to say if they heard his story? If he told them what his ship, the Degradé, had witnessed? It would be good to get that off his chest. He gave the heavy tavern door a tug and walked in. Ah, what a sight for sore eyes. A roaring fire, the sounds of clinking pints of ale, and a waitress serving food. His eyes circled the room and fell on a cornered table. Almost every seaside tavern had one. As a rule of thumb, this table was reserved for the old salts, sailors who had paid their dues. They commanded respect, but would always make room for a newcomer that was willing to buy the next round. He made a small circle in the air with his finger, and pints of ale soon arrived on a large platter. He listened politely. It was the usual talk. He knew that sooner or later they would acknowledge his presence. Finally, one of the men, the one with the black patch over his eyes, said, "Pipe down, mateys. Let the landlubber have a word." He didn't take offense. He knew they were just trying to get the cut of his jib. He offered the perfunctory chit-chat, the weather, where he hailed from, the usual. Finally, one of the old salts got up and placed a log on the fire, and when he was seated, he started his story. He had rehearsed it in his mind many times. He started with how the Degradé had spied a ship that appeared to be adrift. How he and two others rowed to the ship and climbed aboard. He mentioned how something was strange from the start. How no one was top deck and frantically waving, as would have been the case for a ship in distress. He told how they went below deck, thinking perhaps those aboard were ill, perhaps tied up and left by pirates. Maybe they were sailors who had mutinied, being three sheets to the wind and sleeping it off. The old patch-eye sailor cut him off in mid-sentence. "Kill me over, lad. What did you find? What did you see?" He paused and looked around the table. All eyes were on him. He took a breath and replied, "That's just it. I saw nothing. Everybody was gone. The captain, the crew, all vanished. No one was aboard the Mary Celeste. He knew they believed him. Sailors didn't joke about such happenings. Finally, Patch Eye picked up his glass of ale, gulped it down, and exclaimed, "It was a ghost ship, cursed! Shiver me timbers, matey!"
There's a pub, they say, on an English bay, and it's called the Cup of Joe. It's where the sailors go to tell their tales of the devil and the sea below. They'll drink around as sailors drowned, and may their souls be blessed. They'll make the sign of the cross to those they've lost on the Mary Celeste, the Mary Celeste. Scuttlebutt would say she was cursed that day, that she sailed on a wicked wind. The sea won't reveal what it conceals, and they won't be seen again. When the ship was found, there was no sound, no signs of distress. Shiver me timbers, Lord, not a soul on board of the Mary Celeste. The captain, his wife, and their baby girl all vanished with the crew. The sea won't confess, and the tale won't rest of the Mary Celeste, the Mary Celeste. There's a pub, they say, on an English bay, and it's called the Cup of Joe. If you, my friend, should venture in, there's something that you should know. Kindly buy around and drink it down, and take no yarns and jest. But for the grace of the Lord, you might have been aboard the Mary Celeste, the Mary Celeste. The Mary Celeste, the Mary Celeste, the Mary Celeste.
It has been said that the sea does not like to be restrained. Any sailor of the high seas will know these words to be true. But they might also add, the sea does not like to give up its mysteries. The mystery of the ship, the Mary Celeste, will most likely never be solved, and is undoubtedly one of the most famous ghost ship stories. A ghost ship being a vessel that is found drifting without its crew or passengers. It was on December the 5th, 1872, that a ship named the De Gratier sighted a vessel that appeared to be adrift. It turned out to be a 282-ton brig named the Mary Celeste. It had previously set sail on November the 7th, leaving New York, making way to Geneva, Italy. The ship's captain was a man named Benjamin Briggs. His wife and their 2-year-old daughter were on board as well, and 8 experienced crew members. It's not unusual for ships to disappear at sea as a result of sinking in violent storms or mishaps, such as collision with another vessel. But to find a ship adrift with no one on board is extremely rare. Sailors are often very superstitious, and these so-called ghost ships strike fear into the souls of even the most seasoned sailor. The Mary Celeste was found with no one on board. As if that discovery wasn't mysterious enough, there were no signs of foul play or distress. The ship's sails were somewhat tattered, and the lifeboat was missing, but there was no indication of violence such as piracy or mutiny. Nothing seemed to be out of place, and the ship was indeed seaworthy. There was food and water, personal belongings, and the cargo was intact. The captain's logbook was also found. It was as if everyone on board just vanished into thin air. Maritime law would allow anyone that could salvage a ship to receive a large share of the ship's value and cargo. The captain of the Degradé therefore proceeded to tow the Mary Celeste onward to Gibraltar, where it reached port on December the 12th, 1872. An investigation soon followed. All involved were certain that some kind of crime had to be responsible for the disappearance of all on board. Perhaps it was sabotage to collect insurance or even foul play by those on board. After intensive investigation, however, the court case was ended with no explanation or reasoning as to what had led to the fate of the ghost ship. To this day, the mystery has not been solved. Over the years, many theories have surfaced as to what might have happened to the people who had sailed on the Mary Celeste. As one might imagine, speculation was spurred on by sailors as to what might have occurred. These stories included pirates, mutiny, waterspouts, and giant sea monsters from the deep. As one might expect, these tales became even more fantastical with each pint of ale consumed with the telling. The years passed, and the mystery of the Mary Celeste persisted. New theories were presented. The cargo that the Mary Celeste carried was 1,701 barrels of industrial alcohol. It was found largely intact, but some say it could have given off toxic fumes that could have made the captain and those on board abandon ship in fear of an explosion. Did the captain and the others disembark to the lifeboat only to somehow be disconnected from the tow line? Another theory arose from the fact that there was a few feet of seawater in the hull. This level would not necessarily have been alarming, in that the pumps should have been adequate to maintain any leaks. After all, the ship was indeed seaworthy and sailing on its own accord when discovered. Another theory was that the pumps could have been fouled by coal dust that was carried on a previous voyage. The captain, if he felt the ship was in danger of sinking, could have abandoned ship to the lifeboat in an attempt to reach land. This last-ditch effort could have doomed them to their deaths, perhaps by a large wave capsizing the lifeboat. At the end of the day, though, the strange tale of the Mary Celeste is as puzzling now as it ever was. As the song you heard said, the sea won't confess, and it won't reveal what it conceals. What befell the Mary Celeste, in all likelihood, will never be known. One thing, though, is certain. As long as sailors sail the high seas, and as long as there are pubs in which to tell their tales, the Mary Celeste will always be one of those stories. Shiver me timbers, matey.